Where are all my friends? We're back again. And this might be one of the most interesting, wait a minute, you know that guy? This led to this episodes we've had in a while. This started, we're sitting down with Lee Shaner or Intuition, and it started,
Yo.
yo, it started from meeting so randomly somebody that you had been longtime friends with, Dom. We're talking just about music and podcasts. He's a photographer, like kind of outside of music to my knowledge, but I had really just met him. He tells me about his buddy that has a podcast. That's you, KindaNeat. I'm like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize. I looked through it. I see that you had done an episode with Lil Zubin, and I was like, all right, that's enough to show this guy gets it. Then I look at the YouTube. I realized that Kind of Neat had a YouTube channel that I had seen.
Yeah.
Then I realized that you had done something with Adam Weiss, who had been on my podcast, and I just literally randomly shot you a DM, and I was like, "Hey, I think we should do a podcast."
And you
So
caught me
here
at a
we
good
are.
time because it's my like week off, so I have time, and it was easy to schedule. But yeah, Adam Weiss is also, up there with Dominic as one of like my best friends as well. So he's been on the podcast a couple of times actually. Just when I need an extra episode, Adam, come through.
Yeah. I love the
Yeah,
thoses. That's so funny.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
also crazy because you are so accustomed to podcasting. Like I'm looking at this and it's such an honor to sit down with you because I feel like you're an OG of podcasting. I know I get really hype on things,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
really,
I have been podcasting for a long time. I started accidentally sort of in 2011. So I've been doing it for almost a decade. When I started my first podcast, I had never even heard a podcast before. Like I wasn't a podcast listener, but now I look at some of the actual like OGs of podcasting, like Mark Maron and like Seth Romatelli and Jonathan Larroquette from Yeah Dude, who have been doing it since 2006, and I look at myself as a bit of a late adopter compared to them, but relative to like the time when podcast like saying you're a podcast host has become sort of embarrassing at this point,
yeah,
like because everybody has one, like like we were saying off air. I've As far as that wave goes, yes, I'm an early adopter in the sense that I have been doing it for like 9 years, and Kind of Neat is my second podcast out of 3 that I've had, and I've been doing it on and off for 7 years. Yeah.
dude, which is so crazy because for me, I'm almost like overwhelmed with excitement of where to start this
Yeah.
because I feel like you've accomplished a lot of things and done a lot of things that are all interests of mine, and it seems
Sure.
like you've done them well. So it's like part of part of your story is you're an artist and you've put out music that like I'm pretty sure I've heard of and had no idea that was you. And
Yeah.
then Kind of Neat channel blowing my mind. And then I believe you did a corporate podcast for
Yeah.
SkullCandy, which I knew a ton about. And
Sure.
somehow I never knew any of that was you. So I'm having this
Yeah.
moment right now where I'm like, what the fuck? Like
I
you
kind of
did
have that
what?
issue where a lot of people are always like, "Wait, that was you?" Cuz I don't necessarily try to put myself out. I'm not like a sociopath social media fiend searching for clout. You know what I mean? I think
Dude,
there
you're
takes
quiet. Like,
yeah, there's a certain amount of sociopathy that I think goes into wanting to have like millions of Instagram followers and millions of Twitter followers, and like I'm happy with my little niche. I'm happy that to I'm giving credit where credit is due. Like those who need to know what I do know what I do, and the people who write checks sometimes they know what I do. But I don't have like, you know, I don't have like stalkers or anything, which is nice. I don't have people like looking at me with a magnifying glass, which is nice. So
yeah, well, honestly, that's so much about like what I wanted to start my podcast for because I
yeah,
always kind of felt like there were people in my industry that were a little more behind the scenes that had
yeah,
the craziest stories out of anyone. Like there's some people that stay low key but also stay accomplishing these crazy things or orchestrate all these things behind the scenes.
sure,
So, not only is that like exactly the type of person I want on the show, But then there's also this level of respect where I see what you're doing and I struggle with exactly what you just said, where it's like, all I want to do is create something that helps people and inspires people. But then you do have this, like, it forces you to have like this sociopath kind of like, has to be about you, have to promote yourself, have to be this shameless
Yeah.
plug if it's going to reach people. And I'm so
Yeah.
curious to hear your take on that. And in all of the things you've done, the success that you've had, how you've coped with that. And I mean, like, KindaNeat has a crazy YouTube following, and you've had all sorts of people on it. And it's like, now as I've started to create, I know that that's not just an accident. And that takes so much time to make any piece of proper content. So the fact that you've been doing it for so long, to me, says that you're not in this for the clout, like that you're in this because you love this and there's something that you really want to create.
Yeah, definitely. I think initially when I started, the goal was perhaps an early version of clout chasing. The term clout as a slang word wasn't really around back then, but all through the mid 2000s to the mid 2010s, I was concentrating mostly on what I thought, or I was mostly concentrating on trying to become like a working musician, a rapper. I wanted
Okay.
to tour. I wanted to like have a career being a rapper, and that was what I concentrated most of my creative energy towards. But I was always holding down, regular jobs at the time, and I never fully invested in it, so it never really came to fruition. I never really made it to the promised land of being like a full-time musician that paid for the bills, so in 2010, late 2010, like right before Christmas, I got laid off from the last office job that I ever had. And right at that time, my buddy was working on this company with his manager, and I had a meeting with them scheduled already about like starting to write blogs for them or something, because I don't know, the internet was like the Wild West. They were kind of like getting good at YouTube. They were like streaming stuff sometimes on Ustream, or like Justin TV or something like that maybe. And the night that I got laid off was the night that we had the scheduled meeting. And so I showed up with like a 6-pack of beer and a pizza and tried to like basically set up camp and just be like, look, my situation has changed. And so now I actually like want a job from you guys and not just to like write blogs or something. And so that became that was the beginning of my experience with this company called KnockSteady, which to this day, 10 years later, people still like hit me about that shit all the time. What, are you having a moment again?
Yeah, I'm having a
Oh,
moment. Knock
yeah.
Steady. That was, you were a part of that.
That was like, so that
Are
Dumbfounded
you
was the
having a
face of
moment?
that, but I was like kind of the producer behind all those episodes. Yeah, that was me. And so I started
Sure.
hosting a podcast called KnockSteady Live, and that was accidental. That was my first podcast. And back on KnockSteady Live, I mean, we did Vince Staples' first ever video performance online. We did Anderson .Paak's first video performances online back when he was going as Breezy Lovejoy. Um, we had Macklemore on the show like 2 years before Macklemore had a #1 single. We had
Yeah.
Krayshawn on the show the week that Gucci Gucci dropped. Like, we were doing a lot of cool shit, and I really look back at that time, and I like particularly with kind of this discovery of Breezy Lovejoy, like, the guy who was running the company was like, look, we need to have an episode with an artist that doesn't just rap, but doesn't just sing, like and I was like, oh, I know this guy, Breezy Lovejoy, like, he's dope. Well, like, let's have him come in. And after his episode, it was kind of like, yo, this guy's the truth. We should try to manage him. We should do this and that and the other. And then after I ended up no longer being a part of that, yeah, the guy who was managing that company like really took Breezy under his wing and helped guide him to the place where he is now. So that was a cool experience. I forget what I was talking about, but that was my first endeavor into podcasts. Was that?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
wait,
but
pause
the
though,
first
because
episode, yeah, the first episode we ever did was with Open Mike Eagle, actually. Yeah.
of course.
Anyway, Yeah, yeah.
So, okay. So the fact though that you really were chasing the path of an artist before this,
Yeah. Yeah.
so maybe we should talk about that for a second, because even
Yeah.
that is blowing my mind. And we had this moment
S
right before we started where I didn't want to get into it, so we kind of left it
Yeah, that's
there.
okay. Yeah,
But
yeah.
your artist name is Intuition, correct?
Yeah, I rap as Intuition.
But you've done projects with other people that have been producers, is that correct?
Well,
Or
so I used to just go as Intuition solo, but then there was so many people once the streaming platforms got popular, there were so many other bands with the name Intuition. And all of my records that I've put out have been with one producer named Equilibrium. And so we just so for streaming platforms, I changed our name just to Intuition and Equilibrium and put all the albums up that way so that we would have kind of our own artist page. But yeah, so he and I met in Santa Barbara back in like 2003. I had been
whoa.
rapping for a while. I had moved from Alaska to California to come to school, and I met this kid who was like making tapes or like making songs in his dorm room. And so I was like, yo, I could probably rap with you if you want to start a group. And so we started a group, and yeah, then I hopped around from school to school. I ended up in Santa Barbara, met Mark in 2003. Instantly, like 2 weeks after we met, we got a show. And it was like sold out at this like 300 cap venue somehow because we had some local acts on and did a really good job promoting it. And we were kind of like, yo, this can be it. We're going to be famous together. We thought we really had like an atmosphere type thing going on, or like
Yeah.
an Aesop Rock blockhead type
That's
thing going
very
on.
much the kind of vibe that I get in
Yeah.
listening to your music.
Right. And so he really made the beats that I was like had been dreaming of, and I think I was like a rapper that he enjoyed working with. And so yeah, we worked together, to this day we still work together. We still play with music all the time. We'll put out more records, and so around 2000, by 2005, I'm basically like coming to Los Angeles every weekend to play shows and host shows. And I had met this whole group of cats, like the younger generation of Project Bloatians. And so that's like Eagle, that's No Can Do. No Can Do is really my gateway into this subculture of Los Angeles. That's where I meet Dumbfounded. Just all these guys that then become kind of my rap brain trust, or like my circle of dudes that I was coming up with. And a lot of the early, like a lot of the battle rap stuff you see now, I was around that scene very early. One of my good friends is the guy who was filming that. So it's just, I have like my octopus tentacles and all these like things that have gone on to be big. And it's all just because I'm old, and I was like, I was an early version of like a fucking indie rap hipster back in the day, and so I just like was around a lot of cool people doing cool things. So by 2007, I moved to Los Angeles, and that was partly because I was moving in with my girlfriend at the time, but in the back of my head, it was like, I want to be closer to the rap shit. I'm already driving down here every weekend. I might as well just live here. And so then I get really involved in like the Low End Theory scene. I was at Low End Theory every week, shooting photos, doing cool stuff, meeting a lot of producers, a lot of other rappers. And around that time, I got my tonsils taken out, and so my voice changed, and that's how I
Whoa.
have like this. That's how I have like this beautiful podcast voice now, because I used to have a very nasally voice because my tonsils like touched in the back. So that was like, when you really want to talk about it, that's the root of all this, is getting the tonsils taken out and having my
Holy
voice drop
shit,
an
bro.
octave. Yeah. So anyhow, I meet
Well,
all these fellas, and I'm making music and I'm putting out music a lot. But at that time, I put out a record in 2010 called Girls Like Me. And I thought that it was going to be the one to like take me to the promised land. It was a really well put together album, mixed and mastered really nicely. Like it was the best thing we had ever done. And at the time, that was like the peak of blog culture, and all the blogs
yes.
were like, yeah, the blogs were posting my songs. Like in my little LA scene, not a lot of people were getting posted on like Two Dope Boys and Pigeons and Planes, and like they were
Yeah.
posting my shit. So I was like, yo, this is my moment. But I don't know, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Like booking agents didn't want to pick me up. I never found a manager. So then that's when in 2011, I see Dumbfounded has this manager that's like really helping him blow the fuck up. He was like a big dude on early YouTube. Like he had some videos that went viral, and I was like, whoa, your manager like really knows what's up. Like, how can I be down? How can I get involved? And so my whole thing of joining with KnockSteady was on some like, look, I can like help you guys do cool shit if you can help my rap career. And then in turn, 9 years later, here we are. Like it seems that maybe I was meant more to be doing the behind the scenes stuff than being in front of the camera, which also led to my attitude of like not being a sociopathic clout chaser. Cause I'm like, you know what? Being behind the camera is not so bad. Okay. Now ask a question.
Holy shit, bro. I love
My
talking
bad.
to an experienced
Yeah.
podcaster because I'm like, I don't even have to guide you. You're saying the things that I want to hear. This is amazing.
Yeah. My
Thank you.
bad. Yeah. We're both like, yeah, we like to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, but here's my thing. So like I'm probably a generation younger than you. I'm 30 now. But
Yeah.
like
I'll be
I
40 next year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I know all the things you're talking about, but also in the way where it wasn't even an idea that I could like know those people or work with them. It was just like things I saw on the internet and I was like, oh, that's cool. So like
Right.
hearing you say all of that, it's almost a little ahead of my time where I know some of those names and I can like put it together, but
Sure.
I feel you painting the picture of a whole scene. And that's where I can
Yeah.
relate because when I first started, like with anything with music, was me touring with my friends starting in 2008. And we just got in a van, toured around the country, DIY
Yeah.
shows, but it was like more in like the like Warped Tour rock world.
Yes.
Um,
Sure.
but that was like a big thing. Like when I experienced touring world, that to me was like kind of meeting my first people and realizing that it was a very real culture and community and alternative culture that led to some of like the most important people I ever met. So you weren't rapping for a small amount of time. Like you had put time in. You say you didn't get a manager, you didn't get an agent, but like were you touring at all or like what did that look like?
I toured a little bit. I've toured. I've only toured twice, to be honest. And once was with those guys I just mentioned, Dumbfounded, Open Mike Eagle, and No Can Do, and that was
Yeah.
really fun. But it was really small. You know, sometimes we're playing to 15 people. It was terrible.
Oh,
But
I know the
and
vibe.
then yeah, and then in I toured again like in 2012 with Greaves and Budo, this act out of Seattle, and it was cool, but touring as an opening act is hard. And I think like I always had the big dreams of like being a headlining touring act, but I didn't have I was making money in LA. I had jobs. I had a comfortable life. I had good credit, and I didn't want to
Yeah.
like throw all that away to eat shit and sleep on couches for 3 years. You know what I mean? So I just never really. I didn't do the whole like van life thing, and I think the reason that I started making internet content was because I felt that you could kind of get that same amount of buzz or people following you from your house rather than having to go to their city to meet them. You know what I mean? They could watch you online because this was back when, like I said, YouTube was the wild, wild west. I mean, when we were doing that shit in 2011, we went to a party for like this big YouTube company. And at the time, the biggest YouTuber in the world was this guy named Ray William Johnson. And we walked into the party and he was like, holy shit, Dumbfounded, Intuition, like, yo, you guys are KnockSteady, you guys are dope, right? So I'm thinking like, oh, if like the people on the internet are learning about this and the biggest guy on YouTube already knows about us, like, touring is like whatever. That's small potatoes is how it felt at the time, you know?
Interesting. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. As you're explaining all of this, it's such an interesting feeling for me because I never chased being an artist, but I knew like touring
Yeah.
side of it. But I can't help but feel, and I guess I'm still learning your story as we
No, go
speak.
ahead.
But like things worked out for you. Like you obviously have done a ton of cool shit outside of being an artist. So is that
Sure.
something that like haunts you? Is like you should have done the full send? Like, do you look back at that with regret, or do you look at that as like
Nah.
destiny played its course and you should have been doing what you're doing?
I don't ever look back with regret. I feel like as though I took it as far as I could have, or as at least as far as my drive allowed me to, you know? So I don't look back at that time with regret. Yeah, things worked out how they should. Like I don't think anyone who's ever doing anything while they're in the middle of it they never feel like I've made it, you know? Like as many artists as I've talked to, no one ever feels like, yep, I did what I came to accomplish. You're always working towards whatever that might be, you know? And so I'm still working towards whatever that might be. And I don't know what it is. And the goals change all the time. But if the goal was to like put out some music that I think would age well, then yeah, then mission accomplished there. And then if the goal was to like help other indie artists that perhaps are on a similar journey that I was back then and be able to talk to them now and platform them and relate to them, then like that's a mission that I'm still accomplishing as well. You know, that's part of the reason that I started KindaNeat, and part of the reason that KnockSteady was so appealing to me back then was because as a 100% indie artist like I was, there weren't a lot of like places on the internet for us to get any amount of like help or buzz or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the blogs were mostly for like more established industry acts or acts that were about to be big in the industry. Whereas like people like me that were really like DIY all the way, you know, nobody was posting about us really. So I was like, oh, we'll make platforms to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, damn. Okay, so two questions as we
Yeah.
continue on the path. So,
Yeah.
one, do you think that if you had full sent it, like if you had been like, fuck credit, fuck steady money, fuck living in LA in this relationship, and you had just gone like full in, do you
Yeah.
think that it could have been a different life?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see the point in looking back at it that way. I'm sure if I tried harder, perhaps. But at the same time, I had a lot of issues back then. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't the person that I am now, or that I'm always striving to grow and continue to be. And so if anything, like, you know, failures are not permanent. They're just a door opening for something else. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
if I look back at my career as a musician as though it were a failure, I think that would be a little myopic because it led to all this other stuff, you know. With other circumstances, certainly anything's possible. Like it could have worked out better than it did, but I'm not upset with how it turned out. You know, it's all good. Yeah.
No, it's so interesting to me though. Just like the reason I wanted to ask that question is I
Yeah.
feel like I deeply myself think about like I get so excited and I want to do so many things, and I always have like this like battle in my head of like full send, just do one thing, don't even think about
Yeah.
anything else, like go till you have not even a penny in your bank account.
Yeah, I
And
can't
then
think that way. I have too many different I
well,
have too many different angles that I want to look at, you know.
Well, that's me
So,
though. It's like I
yeah.
try to tell myself that, but I'm too conservative by nature and I'm too excited about too many avenues. So I
Yeah.
just like I wonder, I have to feel like other people relate to that. And that's such an
Yeah.
interesting thing to see that you've done that, because the other point that I was going to say before we progress into your story is I don't see that as a failure. Like, granted, you
Nah.
didn't go full send artist like some of the other people that we were talking about, whatever. But
Yeah.
the thing that we were talking about right before the podcast started, where my mind was blown, is there's a song that you put out in 2014, Weight Is Gone.
Yeah.
And I had to like confirm with you. I'm like, hey, just making sure I'm talking to the right person here.
Yeah.
You made this
Well, that's
song?
but that's what I'm saying is like the way you were reacting to it, I was confused. I'm like, I think there are multiple songs with that title, so I'm like, hopefully it's the one that you're thinking of, and apparently
Yeah.
it is. But yeah, I mean, we've you know, we made some bangers, we made some bops.
You
And-
absolutely did.
yeah.
Like, I don't
And-
look at that as like a failed anything.
No,
Like,
it's not a failure.
when
Look,
I was
those
like
those
going through
motherfuckers
my,
still make me mail checks, so we're good. As long as they're still collecting revenue, like that's not a failure. So, yeah.
oh my God, though, like I was like legitimately like that song has come up in so many playlists and just like my life, where I
Yeah.
was like legit like kind of starstruck, where I'm like, what the fuck, bro? That's you. Like, that's not you like sampling something, like that's your song. And yeah, that's
I mean,
that's
it is
me.
there are samples, but
Yes, but
it's
that
not-
is
yeah.
you guys who
No,
made
that's
that
us.
song. Yes.
That's us. Yeah. I that's mind-boggling to hear that it's ended up on playlists and stuff. Because, like I said, when you don't have all of the industry tools and analytics and all that, I don't know the reach. I don't know the influence. I don't know. All I can see is the number of times it's been played on Spotify, which is like, you know, minuscule
Yes.
to some other songs. So. Yeah, cool. I don't know. I'm surprised that you knew what it was. That's dope. Yeah.
Dude, like to the point of like friends, like driving around in an old 60s truck in Florida with my friends, just like with like the chillin' hip hop playlist on, and that song comes on. So I'm
That's
like
crazy.
listening to it. I'm like,
That's
what?
crazy.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
keeping going with your
Yeah.
story, I'm blown away. And that's
Me
amazing to
too.
hear
Yeah,
about
me
the
too. Me too.
project and
Yeah.
what you did accomplish there. So you go and do the KnockSteady thing.
Yeah.
What happens from there?
So KnockSteady for me only lasted a year, and we kind of went separate ways, and so I took a year to kind of regather myself because it was a heavy year. I was working like 24 hours a day and really learning what I was capable of because I have my degree in commercial photography, right? So that was my visual art side of me is in photography, and so that's helped in like videography stuff because at least I have sort of a vision and an understanding of lighting, and I can kind of create videos the same way that I would create a photo type shit.
Yeah. Is that how
And
you know Dom?
well, yeah, Dom and I went to school together, so we've known each other since
What?
the year 2000. We've been best friends since college. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so that's how we met each other. So, I mean, that ties into all of this. So after KnockSteady, I called up Dom. My unemployment ran out, which is a whole nother story. I was on unemployment the whole time. It was kind of it was a little bit of a cult. I was like working for free, low key, and it was a like a charismatic leader situation. And so
Perfect.
when that ended, I just kind of was a little lost again, going like, okay, well, I don't want to go back to an office job. What can I do? And right at that same time, coincidentally, my best friend Dominic, who's appeared on KindaNeat, he was breaking off from his like 9 to 5 photo job that he had and going independent, and he had a couple contracts that were going to pay his way. And so I went, well, hey man, if you're going independent and if you need any help, just let me know, because like I could assist. I can digitech, I can light, I can do whatever. Like he knows my skill set from school because we helped each other get through school, and we understand the way each other shoots, and we have the same kind of mentality and focus about our vision with photography. And so he was like, oh yeah, I have a shoot in like 3 days, come down and help. And so he had some other guys working with him, but it was, pretty quickly where I end up just becoming like his right hand man in his business, and was teching and firsting at the same time. And so that was like my hustle for 5 or 6 years, was working with him and then working on KindaNeat and music in the interim. And somehow in 2013, the year that I started KindaNeat, I managed to do an episode a week, 52 episodes that first year, all while traveling with him like, twice a month. Like we would be on jobs out of state, like almost twice a month. Yeah. And then I would somehow come home, have a few days, record like 2 or 3 episodes, and get them out still scheduled. Like sometimes I'd be posting them from my phone and shit, like because I didn't even have a laptop at the time. Like I'd be in Florida, like posting it from my phone. But anyway, yeah, it was
I
a lot of work.
so
I don't know how
heavily
I did it.
relate to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the
yeah.
looking back at those things where you're like, how did I do all of this kind of vibe?
Because now I'm like back on that tip where I'm trying to do 52 episodes in 52 weeks. I'm taking a 2 week break right now, so I'm doing like 26 episodes and 26 episodes. And I'm like, how the fuck did I do this? Like back then, my stamina has changed a lot. It was hard, man. But we're getting it done. So
Dude, okay, so two things there. One, is
yeah,
Dom even more legit than I think he is? Because as you're explaining this, I only briefly met him, and he talked to me
yeah,
about like working with like DC shoes and doing like big things, but like
yeah. Oh, I
he's
mean,
been established, huh?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. He got a really good break out of school and got a job at DC Shoes. And yeah, that led to having other huge clients along the way. The action sports industry in photography has a wide web, because a lot of dudes who started off in the skate industry, they end up at Nike, they end up at Adidas, they end up at New Era, they end up at all these big brands, but they start off in these small skate companies as creative directors or whatever. And so if you make those relationships with creative directors, you can carry on that relationship to whatever company they may lead to. And so yeah, while I was working with him, I mean, we worked with some huge clients. Yeah, amazing. photographed amazing people. Go to his website, check it out, DominicCooley.com. The resume is thick with two C's.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Okay, and this is the second point that I wanted to touch on with that. As I was
yeah,
doing my light research on you, I like to keep that balance where I know a little bit, so I'm not
yeah,
completely
yeah. Nah,
uneducated, but
for
it's also
sure.
like, whoa. Your project, like just like your Lee Shaner page and your
Yeah.
photography
Oh yeah,
is
yeah.
fucked up good.
Oh,
So
thanks,
now in
man.
my head, I'm like, oh, damn. Well, if you're shooting with Dom and if you came from school and like that's your background, I get it.
Yeah,
Cause I saw
yeah,
that and I was like, what the hell is this?
yeah. Over time, our styles really like came to mesh together, and we really see through the lens in a very similar way. So, yeah, I forgot that I even have a Lee Shaner page. I really just do that so that when you Google me, like some goofy shit doesn't come up. But um, yeah, most of that stuff is stuff that I shot from like 2018 and 19 with SkullCandy, or maybe 2016 through 18 for SkullCandy as a client when they were having me shoot music stuff for them.
Bro,
Yeah,
I so heavily relate to like just so many of the things, and there's so many parallels in my life where like I'm doing so much, and there's so many like, oh
yeah.
yeah, well I did this during this time, and this, and this, and this, and this, and like it's really inspiring for me to talk to you and hear all of
Well,
this.
yeah. Touching back on what you said about that, and having kind of being a jack of all trades, master of none, but in the creative sense, just being curious about so many different creative outlets and wanting to partake in so many creative outlets, it
Yes.
does lead to that issue of not being known as a specialist. But sometimes that helps, where I'm like, oh, you have this vacancy or this void, like I can fill it, because that opportunity with SkullCandy, they totally pivoted on their marketing program. I think in 2016 or 17, it's 16, it must have been, and they just wanted to do a music program that was like writing and photography, like basically blog posts. And I was like, oh well, I write and I shoot and I know music and I can book people, and you'd be hard pressed to find literally anyone else in the world that would do that. That would like book the act, shoot the act, write up the interview, or like interview the act, all that shit. And so it was just this thing where I've being a jack of all trades has put me into some positions that I don't think a lot of other people would really be able to pull off. So
That's really encouraging to hear
yeah.
because I
But it takes forever, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you're 30, it started working out for me at like 35. So you got 5 more years. You're almost there.
tight. Well, not only for
Yeah.
me, but even for the listeners, because I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
there's a whole generation even below me that's like trying to find their spot in all of it. It's like people
Yeah.
interested. I'd say most of my listeners are into some kind of music or entertainment.
Sure.
And a lot of people are trying to find their lane and figuring out what that is. So that's why I'm so obsessed with hearing everyone's different story and how it played out, because I don't think there's a specific right answer,
Nah, there's
but I
not.
definitely felt there was a unique path with you, one that I haven't heard others talk about.
And I feel like I'm all over the place telling the story because there's like there's just so many like
There's so
divergent
much.
angles. I really look at my life as every year is a new place that a check is coming from, but somehow every January something happens to work out where I can fill some void for somebody and still manage to like live in Los Angeles and survive. And but yeah, come November every year, I'm like, oh God, I hope the check comes next year, and it always works out. So there's really no point in stressing. But it took forever. It takes a long time, and a big thing going back all the way to the beginning about not having that like sociopathic drive to want to like have my Instagram numbers reflect all of the accomplishments that I've been a part of. It's just knowing that like don't front. You know what I mean? Like don't put fucking CEO in your bio. Don't put photographer, stylist, fucking creative director, vibe director, whatever. Like just fucking do your thing and be quiet about it, and eventually I think people will notice if the work holds up for itself, because even without the numbers, if the work holds up and it's consistent, people will notice. You know what I mean? So,
Dude,
anyway.
that's church right there.
Yeah.
Something you said on the intro of the podcast when you brought back KindaNeat
Yeah.
was that led you to doing a corporate podcast, I believe the SkullCandy
Yeah.
podcast, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
So, yeah.
said that kind of became your resume. like the fact that you had done it. And I want to go back because I'm really, really curious of this specific point. What
Yeah.
was it like starting Kind of Neat? Because you said you started that in 2013.
Yeah.
So say you did that, what, like 4 years before it led to like another opportunity like that. However, it really carved out a lane and you did the damn thing.
Yeah.
So like, what was that vision? What was that drive? What were you thinking then? How did that take place?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I got you. So, like I said, I took pretty much most of 2012 to myself and was writing music and working with Dom, but not doing podcasts or content creation because I was letting ideas stew. And so one of my buddies slash mentors, Daddy Kev, who started Low End Theory, he opened a studio that year with one of my good friends, No Can Do, who I've mentioned a few times. And so they went in on this studio together and were like, hey, we want to do something cool here so that it's in use more than just like as a recording spot. So if you have any ideas, or if you want to start a podcast or something, go for it. And I was like, yo, they had just plastered the walls with the comic books. And I went, yeah, I could do something with this for sure. Like I'll do a podcast and then I'll shoot people performing, because at KnockSteady, we used to call it a 3-tier platform. We would do a live stream, performances, and an interview. And then we would boil down all the best parts of the live stream interviews into a podcast. Right. But the main thing that I didn't like about the live stream aspect is that you have to be on the entire time because people are watching, and you can't slip up and say some dumb shit or look dumb or be whack. Like you have to be on the whole time. And that's annoying to me. And also I think people are more protected that way. Like if they know that it's live streaming, then people will be less personal in the interviews. And so I was like, okay, what I would like to do is start a podcast again, but instead of filming it or live streaming it, I just want it to be like a traditional, like Mark Maron type podcast where I'm just sitting with people and interviewing. And then the kind of teaser or the snackable content, if you will just be one live performance of whatever song the artist wants to perform. And so that was it. That was the idea for Kind of Neat. And the first guest I ever had on was Baths, who was on Anticon. I think he's still on Anticon. I don't know. And it was kind of like an afterthought. Like I always wanted to have Baths on KnockSteady and never got to have him on. So I was like, talked to his label owner slash manager, Sean, at the time, and was like, yo, I really want to have Baths as the first guest because he was like a white whale when I was on KnockSteady. And I was like, and so he came through, but he was in a rush to go somewhere else, so I couldn't have him perform. So then the second guest, the first one to ever perform, was Chuck English, who, like, I don't know, I look at him as like a gateway to Los Angeles in general. Like when people get cracking, the first people they come out and meet is Chuck English. And I wanted to have that same feeling for Kind of Neat. Like when you first start cracking, you come through at Kind of Neat, you know what I mean? So having Chuck on the show as a second guest was like, analogous to that. It was like symbolic in a sense. And then from there, we just didn't look back. I look back on that content now from 2013, 2014 as like pretty archaic. I had a fucking Canon Mark II or Canon, what is it?
The Rebel T2i?
No, I had a Mark II
a
5D Mark
II?
II. That's what it is. Yes,
Okay,
5D
yeah.
Mark II. God, I just sounded like I had a stroke. I had a 5D Mark II that I like fell off of a truck that Dom gave me for free. He was like, yeah, this fell off a truck. I got it for cheap. Have it. I said, all right, cool. Because before that, I was borrowing people's cameras. I would go borrow my homie Romo's camera and a light, and sometimes I'd be going to one place to get a camera, another place to get a light, all before I get there. Like I was really doing it like by the fucking skin of my teeth, man. Like it was a juggling act that I don't know how I pulled off. So finally, he gives me a camera, and I look back on that footage now, is what I meant to say, is like very archaic and pretty low quality and inconsistent a lot of the times, but we had some like major fucking successes, and we had, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and we were working very hard, and we had some like big lucky breaks. I remember the first video to ever like catch on instantly was our 5th episode. This gal named Penny Bird Rabbit, and Skrillex, who was huge at the time. It was like peak Skrillex era. He fucking retweeted the video, and overnight it got 200,000 views, and we were just like, holy shit. you know, like we made it. And from there, it was like, that was it. Subscribers started coming in. And you know, we were on that weekly cadence. And back then on YouTube being once a week, that was like, you were in there. Now I feel like on YouTube, it's a trash fire. You have to be uploading every day. My goal was always to like try and get double the amount of subscribers each year. So like 10,000, then 20,000, then 40,000, and like blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I don't know. Eventually we, I don't know, we hit 100,000. And then by that point, I just like needed a break. I was just booking people that I knew, you know what I mean? Like I was like really in the scene at that point. I was at shows every night. I was like just out and about. And so, and I was hanging out with Adam a lot, honestly. Like, and I was going to all the Ham on Everything parties, and I was going to Low End Theory, and I was doing all this shit. And so I would just like see people and meet people, and I'd be like, yeah, I have a podcast. Like I remember we had Mike G from Odd Future on like episode 15. And at the time in 2013, like Odd Future was still huge. Like that was everything. And I walked up to Mike G and I was just like, hey man, what's up? I have this podcast. It's called KindaNeat. And he was like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And I said, well shit, you want to come be a guest? Same thing with Milo. I don't know if you know who Milo is, but it was the same thing where I just like would walk up to people and be like, I have a podcast, and people would be like, what the fuck is that? Or they'd be like, I've heard of that. And they would just come through, you know? And I've always looked at my creative projects as not being so much about an individual output, but more about the sum of everything, like the sum of everything that you do. And so that's why every video on KindaNeat looks the same, because I'm like, look, I just want to like amass hundreds of these, because that's the impressive part, is that you got everybody to agree to do this. It's not like necessarily what happens in any individual video, but when you amass hundreds of them, cool shit is bound to happen in them. And then artists know about it, and they get more competitive about it, and they go, oh, well, so-and-so did this, so I want to do this. And, you know, he took his shirt off, so I'm going to take my shirt off type shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know. That's it.
No,
yeah.
I do. And like that to me was something that was so impressive about what you did, because, and I'm curious, because you experienced it several times, like building not only a following, but like building a vision and building like what the content is that you're creating that's going up on YouTube. And I'm curious, like, I love that. And I completely feel it. And I agree. Like, once you have it all together, you've built something. Like, you've built this little, like, niche thing online that is then its own subculture. It's its own thing. And people do get competitive, or they raise the stakes, and it goes and it goes and it goes.
Right.
And I feel like you did that. And I feel like as you explain your vision, that is what it was. And that's coming from somebody who never subscribed, but just saw it because it was on the internet, because it did that thing where, like, even if you didn't subscribe, you'd catch that one episode and you'd remember the background, and you'd be like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, people still go like, wait a second, isn't that where Ghostmane did a video? Isn't that where Caliucci's did it? And I'm like, yeah, dog, like, hasn't the algorithm shown you a million of other ones of these? Like, there's 150 of them. Like, how's that the only one you've seen? But yeah, man, that was the thing.
Well,
is
that's
just
my
creating a
question.
community. Yeah.
Talk to me about the algorithm, because you've been doing this shit for so long. Like, do you view it as a blessing? Do you view it as a curse? Do you give a shit as you look at it? Like, because to me, like you said something earlier, where it's like before, once a week you upload and then you're set, you're in it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like it's like every hour you have to upload in order to be rewarded. Does that
it does seem like it's changed?
Because you're back now. Like, it
we're
paused
back
for SkullCandy.
Yeah.
Now you're back.
Right.
What do you, is the feeling still the same? Is the vision still the same? Are you coming at it with a little bit of a different approach now?
I'm not changing probably as quickly as I should. I'm not like a big analytics guy. I'm just a gut instinct guy. Out of the last 20 or so videos that we put out, 2 of them really caught on the way that old videos would have caught on. The rest are kind of like have not gotten like pushed into the algorithm. But yeah, it seems like YouTube has changed quite a bit in those 2 years that I took off working for SkullCandy. It doesn't seem the same, but I'm not on some like old man yelling at cloud like, Like, oh, you rotten YouTube scoundrels, why did you change the algorithm? Like, it just is what it is. I look at it now as like YouTube views are less important than they used to be. There are other avenues, obviously. What I'm learning now is that, you know, like Instagram is the platform, obviously. Like, that's the one that everybody checks first now, it seems like. That's the one where it's like you look at the metrics and go, oh, this person's popping because they have this amount of followers. So, you know, turns out that everything that I've been doing for the last 7 years with KindaNeat is great internet or is great Instagram content. So, you know, I've been concentrating
Um,
more on like showing the world what we've done over the last 7 years and showing it as this complete vision of a creative project rather than concentrating weekly on trying to get the YouTube views. I'm just using it more to like grow the other platforms and just show it as a brand. I don't know that like KindaNeat will ever be able to scale. Like, we'll see. Do I think it's great content? I do, or else I wouldn't do it. You know, like, do I love doing it? Yeah, I do. That hasn't changed. I love talking to people. I love hearing everybody's stories. I love, you know, painting artists as a three-dimensional human being instead of this like one-dimensional thing that people see on Instagram. So yeah, I still love it. The algorithms change, but what the fuck can you do? You know, views aren't what they used to be, but what can you do? I'm gonna just keep doing me, and I think regardless, like if if I can change one artist out of 20 artists' life that I talk to, then that's a pretty good job. You know what I'm saying? If I can make a video where people say, "Oh yeah, I fucking like," every time the feedback that I get from artists is like every time they go to they play a show somewhere, somebody comes up to them and says, "Man, I've been a fan ever since you did KindaNeat." And like, that's important to me. Like, I like to be outside of the algorithm. I like to not look at what's trending, what's viral, what's whatever. I don't like to look for the next biggest TikTok hit. I like to talk to people who genuinely make music that would appeal to me or appeal to the teenager in me, and you know, put them on the platform. And so yeah, I don't know. I hate the algorithm. That's the honest thing. I hate people that like only concentrate on trying to find what works in the algorithm. I hate uh, um, that A&Rs are just looking for whatever the next viral trend is instead of like what actually gives them spine tingles. I'm trying to like find the spine tingle shit. You feel me? So
Dude, yes,
yeah,
I feel you. And it's that's why I wanted to ask you, because I feel like I'm sometimes old man yelling at a cloud and I'm goddamn 30. But it's
yeah,
like it feels like I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes because I was always raised and I was always of like it's just always been in my blood to do your best job and do things with integrity and do things you're proud of and not worry about anything else. And I
yeah,
feel like that's like when I really started looking at what you're doing, I'm like, this dude gets it because
yeah,
you're not doing it to game an algorithm. If you've been in the game for as long as you have and you're still doing it, like you're doing it because you're passionate about something and you've clearly
yeah.
built something really cool. So it
Thanks.
gives me like another wave of hope to be like, here's somebody that doesn't give a fuck, that's just making a good product because that's what they need to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, man, I'll be honest, sometimes I wish I understood gaming the algorithm, but I just can't be fucked to care enough about it. Like, I can't, it does not inspire me to learn the tricks of the trade. That just doesn't do it for me. Like, learning Instagram tricks and learning YouTube tricks and whatever, like changing my thumbnail. Like, you know, people tell me the craziest shit, like, oh yeah, you should change your thumbnail every week so it bumps back up in the algorithm. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You know how many videos I have on the channel? That shit would take forever. Fuck no, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not inspiring to me. That's like stupid busy
No.
work.
Yeah, like you're
So
just babysitting like the internet at that point and you're not
yeah,
creating.
yeah, exactly. I just I do what I do, and I've gotten good at it over the years, I think, and that's, you know, that's it. And people will find value in it. And I think the important thing too, I can't lie and say I don't care about legacy. Like, I think about legacy sometimes, you know, like what are the tweets gonna look like when you die or whatever, and
Fuck yeah.
not literally, but
No,
that,
I know, but I
but
feel you.
like
I feel you.
the legacy that you leave is a fingerprint of your life, and I think if anything, KindaNeat's legacy could really be seen as like influential in that other brands took what we were doing and ran with it and admittedly do it better, cleaner, more graphically sound, like whatever, but they have funding behind them. But if you talk to them, I guarantee you they would say like, oh yeah, we saw what KindaNeat was doing and we were like, that's tight. You know what I'm saying? And that's important to me. I'm like, hey, cool. Like that's the literal definition of being an influencer. And I don't care about being an influencer and what the modern sense is, but the fact that like people have seen what we did and ran with it and are standing on the shoulders of giants with it, like that's dope to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
dude, yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
completely feel that. And something else that I'm interested in, which is clearly proof of that,
Mhm.
is you did KindaNeat up until the point where you did SkullCandy. And I can
Yeah.
only imagine that switching and doing SkullCandy is a sick paycheck. It's a ton of production. It's a ton of new endeavors that you can do.
Yeah.
And I want to hear about that. However, I also think it says so much that here you are again doing Kind of Neat. Because I think
Yeah.
that really shows
Are you
that you
Canadian?
no.
Where are you from?
I'm from Miami, but my dad's Scottish.
Oh,
What's
from
good?
Miami. Oh, nothing. I was just gonna clown because of how you say kind of neat every time instead of just kind of neat. I'm like, oh, you
Oh,
might be Canadian. I'm like, what's this all about?
I'm
No,
like, I'm very white with how I
you're very
enunciate
proper. Yeah, no,
things.
that's cool.
Yeah. I can't help it. And I love rap, which does not
Yeah,
go together well
it's
because
all right.
that's okay.
No, it's okay. Sorry, I blew the question. Um, so yes, after a certain point with Kind of Neat, right? Where video we had broken I think 100 million views and had 200,000 subscribers or something, like not crazy. Like now the standard for a big YouTube channel is having over 1 million subscribers, and it is what it is. I don't know that I don't know if we'll ever get to that. Who knows? Maybe. But the thing about it is people at companies, they see 100 million views and they go, wow, this guy's a free agent. Like, that's amazing. Like, he knows what he's doing. 200,000 subscribers. Holy shit. Nobody here has ever done that. So yeah, it looks really nice on a resume. And so at a certain point with Kind of Neat, I went, I don't know how we're ever going to make any money off of this, because that's the thing. People think, oh, you have a YouTube channel, it gets a bunch of views, you got money. Nah, man, my YouTube channel makes like maybe $100 a month, because every one of those songs, after like about 2015, the internet got really good at fingerprinting songs. It was right around the time that DSPs really picked up, Spotify and Tidal and all these. Like when those got really popping, all of those songs that are available via digital distribution, they all get tagged instantly when you upload them. So all those performances, none of them are making money. You know what I'm saying? And so I went, maybe this is not ever going to be my full-time job, but it will be a resume piece. So I will stick with it as like an overall art project to show what my vision is as far as curation goes, to show what my vision is as far as presenting music in an easily digestible way. And also just like getting to keep talking to people and being a host and learning more about the human condition by chatting with people. And so right around that time that I kind of gave into that notion that perhaps Kind of Neat will never similarly take me to the promised land, the same way that being a musician never took me to the promised land, was right when like it took me to the promised land, because I gave up a little bit of my I don't know, like, growing up in indie music culture, you have this sense of like not wanting to be a sellout, not wanting to like fucking ever compromise on your vision. And at a certain point, I just went, you know what? If somebody offers me some money, I'll help them compromise my vision. That's fine. And so, SkullCandy was like, yo, we want to start a podcast. I had been working with them, I had been doing music programming stuff for them for a couple years. And they went, we want to pivot and do a podcast and video content. And I was like, yeah, I'll help you guys figure that out. I made like a consulting deck. Like I was like going to consult them on how to start one and help them find a host and all this stuff. And after the meeting, they were like, yeah, that's cool, but like, do you want to just host it? And I was like, oh, I didn't think you guys wanted me to suggest myself to host it, but yes, I will host your podcast.
Me?
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, for real, me. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And I also told them, but like, don't get it twisted. I'm not like some huge fucking podcast host. Like I'm not gonna be bringing any audience with me. It's going to be like a bunch of people going, who the fuck is this guy? And they're like, yeah, we don't care about that. We just need somebody that like knows how to do this. So all right, cool. So yeah, it was a great check, and I worked with people that I've known for a long time, and they kind of, the first year I didn't get to do any of the booking, and so some of those episodes were like suggestions that I made. Like I did a little Zubin podcast
I saw that.
on SkullCandy too. Some of them were suggestions that I was giving to them. Most of them were just like, they had this other dude booking, and our taste, you know, he's great at his job, but our tastes were different. And so I was talking to a lot of people that first year that I didn't really even know who they were, nor was I like really super compelled by their music. But you know, I met some cool people in the interim. And then the next year, after that first year of growth, I went, you know what? I have a dude that I think would be really great to help book this. And it was Adam. And I like made a deck about Adam. And I said, look, he's been booking all these parties. He's one of my closest friends. Our tastes are really similar. Like he'll be able to book anybody that's popping right now off the strength of his name, and I'll be able to like dial down his outlandish tastes by understanding completely what SkullCandy's brand is. Like I have a really strong understanding of what SkullCandy's like attitude and brand is, having worked with them for like 6 years on and off, right? And so they were like, yeah, okay, cool, let's have Adam do it. So you know, Adam and I, the next year in 2019, we ran the booking together, and there's a lot of like hurdles with their marketing campaign as far as like all the stipulations that the artist needed to fit, because there was like, it was this thing called mood boost, and every mood had a color, and every artist had to match the mood and the color, and they had to do a song that da 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 da. And there was a lot of like, you know, booking artists on committee, and we would have to make a deck every month of like artists that we thought would fit and why, and then, you know, we had to make sure that they all fit within the budget. And that was something that Adam was able to help with, because he had these working relationships with a lot of artists. And you know, our goal was to like bring a lot of musical diversity, general diversity, to the program, and I think we did. You know, we booked 12 artists and only had, I think, 2 white dudes the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody,
Damn,
you like
sick.
that was the goal. We're like, yeah, let's try to avoid having white people on the show. And success.
Well, I mean, props for like giving a shit about diversity.
That's like
dope
one,
that a brand.
well, so
too.
that's eventually what my goal with KindaNeat has become, is like, look, in music culture, as a white man, particularly someone that concentrates mostly on like underground hip hop culture, I'm a guest in the culture. I'm a guest in the industry. All, you know, maybe like sometimes people push back and think this is a controversial statement, but all popular Western music comes from African American culture. You know what I'm saying? So my whole goal on KindaNeat is really to elevate Black voices, elevate the voices of women, elevate the voices of the LGBTQ community. Because like, look, I know my audience. You want to talk about gaming the algorithm? Like, it's easy, dog. On YouTube, have a fucking cute white girl or a white rapper on your YouTube show, and that shit's always going to get more views, period. Like,
dude,
but
I thought I was crazy. Every
No.
time I have anyone, like anytime I have a Black person on my podcast, less views,
lower
less
views,
downloads.
because YouTube's
What
racist.
the fuck is that?
Bro, because everything is fucking racist, right? And so that's
Hate
the thing
that.
is like, I know how I could game the system with my audience, and that's lazy to me. And so rather than going like, hey, have on this fucking corny white rapper that'll be huge, fuck that. Like, I'd rather have, you know, an important Black voice or an important Black woman on the show that is making music that truly touches my heart, rather than shooting for like whatever the next, you know, thing that's going to get me views is. So yeah. So anyway, all that is to say, yeah, diversity is very important for me, and not making lazy decisions is very important to me, and integrity is very important to me. And so that really has become a goal as a guest in the culture, is to try and make sure that I'm elevating voices rather than ever trying to be like a gatekeeper. or maybe I'm not even using the term gatekeeper wrong or correctly. I mean, because I guess like trying to not have white rappers on the show is kind of gatekeeping, but it is what
Like
it
you're
is.
like
I don't know.
going now, you've gone too far as
Yeah,
wanting
I don't
diversity,
know.
and then you're going
I
no, but
mean,
I feel you.
yeah,
I feel you.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you're trying to be respectful and you're trying to like
yeah.
not just be like, cool, white
I
people
don't
in
want to
hip
take.
hop.
I don't want to take the easy route. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that it is what it is. So,
Yeah. So okay, so then the Skull Candy
oh
thing
yeah,
ran
sorry.
its course and you came
Yeah.
back to doing kind of neat.
Well, so I never. Okay, so I took those 2 years off from Kind of Neat because I was like, oh, I finally have a full-time job. Like those 2 years were the easiest years of my life. Like as far as workload went, I got to travel all the time. I was like MVP gold on Alaska Airlines, just like luxurious first class flights all the time, mad upgrades, staying in these nice hotels, eating good meals, and getting paid, you know. And so I went, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from Kind of Neat because I'm doing the podcast shit. You know, I got a dog that I'm trying to train, so it was like all I like had my now wife. We had just moved in together and we're living in a nice place together. And I was like, I'm just gonna take like I'm gonna let Kind of Neat breathe for a little bit. And then 2019, you know, even easier than 2018. We only did 12 episodes, man. It was like so chill, and yeah, I just didn't feel the need. I was like, I'm still doing the thing that I've been doing. It's just like on an easier schedule now. But yeah, once that ended, like once I found out the Ari Lennox episode of You Feel Me, which I didn't name that podcast, but that Skull Candy podcast, that was the last episode, and I went, all right, well, back to the drawing board. So what am I gonna do in the interim? I'm gonna have to like start Kind of Neat again because for one, I need to like scratch that itch of constantly creating, but also I need to keep building the resume and showing what I do so that when other people come along, they see that I've been active and there's just not just some gap in productivity. So yeah, started filming episodes, and then right as I was starting filming episodes and trying to like switch to a different podcast carrier, COVID hit.
Yeah,
And
fuck.
so I had like 6 episodes already recorded, and then COVID hit and I went, oh fuck, like this is going to be terrible when these 6 weeks are up. What the fuck am I going to do? But it worked out, you know, like I get tested pretty frequently. The podcast is very small. We only have 3 people in the studio when we do it, me, the engineer, and the artist. And we've managed to stay safe. Nobody's caught COVID. Nobody,
So
I don't know. Like,
you still
yeah,
do them in
I
person.
still do them in person,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah. I just put
Because I'm like
I take one of
I
these
wasn't
mics.
sure.
Yeah. Well, so I have another SM7, and I'll just put a mask over that one. So I use the same one every week, and then I put a mask over the mic every week, and then we sit on the opposite side of a 12-inch room, or maybe of a 12-foot room, while we're doing it. And yeah, me and the engineer stay masked up the whole time, and the artist is the only one that can keep their mask off, and we've had success. It's been fine,
Damn.
you know.
Cool. Yeah, because
yeah.
I was all in person and then I switched to Zoom and it gets it done, but I very much miss the like in-person experience. And also you're
Yeah.
doing a performance, which
Right, and the performance, and really, as silly as it sounds, the photo of them in front of the comic book wall is very important for our aesthetic in general. Having done so many podcasts, you know, probably like 300 podcasts over the course of my life at this point, it's like there's something to be said about that in-person intimacy. And not that this one isn't intimate, don't get me wrong, like we're still looking at each other's eyes longingly, you know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. But no, we're still able to look at each other, but it's like, you know,
yeah.
there's something magic about being in the same room with somebody. So yeah. But also,
No,
yeah,
dude,
the
I feel
performance part
you.
is very important to what we do as well. So yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I super feel it.
Mhm.
That's been something that I've struggled with. I have adapted to Zoom podcasts, but God, do I miss just sitting in person and doing the thing.
Yeah, you know, we're trying to be strict about that so that I can keep doing Kind of Neat and feeling like I'm not putting anybody in any danger, you know?
Yeah,
So,
no, respect there.
yeah.
Honestly, respect there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, fuck,
So
dude, I
anyway,
feel like that pretty much catches me up on your insane story of
sure.
every small world thing coming together and me having somehow never met you.
Yeah, I honestly like I'm pretty confused by that too. I feel like maybe your face looks a little familiar, but who knows? I don't go out that much anymore. That's the. Oh, I mean, obviously because of COVID, but even before that, like I got married last year in June, and before that in 2016, my wife and I, when we first got together, we both quit drinking, and when we quit drinking, that takes a lot of social life out of you, man. Like, because if you don't go to bars anymore and you don't
Yeah.
really want to stay up late going to parties anymore, and shows are now boring as shit because you're not stealing beers backstage, it's like, that's a lot of the things that I
Mm,
used to do that I no longer do. So I'm just like not really out and about like that anymore.
dude, it's so funny. Like I never really drank, but it's so much a part of just meeting people. So like
Yeah.
it's yeah, like that part of COVID and like all that, I'm like, yeah, nothing's really changed. However, there is just that thing of like social life and those I don't know, it's just different now. I don't know.
No, totally it is. Um, yeah.
I
So that's the
have
thing is like when that's another part of just like not, people always going like, oh, you're the one who did that. Yeah, but and it's because I don't see people out and about, and I'm also not the type of dude when you meet me to go like, "Hello, these are all the things that I've done." I'm not a like talk about myself person usually, and a lot of the time that I'm spending editing the podcast is trying to edit myself out. You know what I mean? Like, because I want it to be about the person. So if I'm telling a story to them in person, that I think will help get another story out of them, I usually edit my story out because chances are my audience has already heard it. They have
yep.
fucking 5 or 6 stories, and then I leave their story in, and people go, "Wow, how do you get these people to talk?" And I'm like,
Mm.
because I talk more than they do usually, and then I just edit
Yeah, and then
myself
I'm
out.
cutting shit out.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I don't
So,
know. It's just it's a fucking honor to talk to you because I feel like
ah,
no, like I mean it though, because I think that
thank
there's
you.
so much to be learned and so much like something that I have a problem with is when people come at any type of industry and think they're the shit without doing their homework and learning who was there first and who like kind of like pioneered it. And as I sit here and talk to you and as I hear these stories, I'm like, damn, like had it not been for things like KindaNeat and just like, I don't know, so much of what we talked about, people like you in general, like it puts the platform for people to keep going and for it to be a familiar platform for other people to listen. Kind of rambled that, but
No, it's all good. I mean, I appreciate the sentiment. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think I pr- I have definitely accidentally pioneered some things, but at the same time I didn't realize that I was doing it while I was doing it. It was all happy accidents with a lot of fortitude and a lot of work ethic and a lot of just like get it done. And I hope that people will look back eventually and go like, wow, he did a lot of shit. Right now, that's not that important to me. Getting the credit where credit is due is not something that like makes me happy or makes me thrive. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really need that validation. Validation comes from within. You know what I mean? Happiness is something you have to work on yourself, because somebody else telling you that you did good is not going to make you happy. So uh I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that you think that I was a pioneer. I'm glad that you think we did some cool shit. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do my whole life, and it's nice. Yeah,
and I'm glad to
thank you.
see that you're still doing it. Like I'm
Yeah,
glad that it's
thanks, man.
not just like a thing of the past and that you're just like you're back at it cuz
Well,
that's
at
fucking
this
awesome.
and at this point, it's really a challenge to myself, because I don't know if you've ever read this, and maybe you're already starting to experience it. But science has shown, and I say this all the time, but science has shown that the age of 33 is when your music tastes start to revert. It's when you stop being as interested in new music, you stop being interested in new sounds, and you start going like, you know what? That Blink 182 CD I used to listen to in high school is pretty good. Maybe I should listen to it again. And that's why, I'm 10 years older than you, but I grew up listening to my dad play classic rock all the time. It was all the shit that came out while he was in high school. And that's why, because at a certain point, your brain tells you like what happened when you were in high school was the peak of music culture. That's what you love. And I just want to like always fight that and always go like, no matter how outlandish my fucking friends that are my age think that rap is getting, or no matter how obnoxious they think pop music is getting or whatever. I want to be able to like look at it and go like, nah, this shit is dope. And if you were like 15, you would understand that. But you're a fucking old fart and that's why you don't like it, you know? And so at this point, it's really a challenge to myself to just kind of go like, the kids are all right, you know, they're still doing dope shit. And I'll tell you, as a nearly 40-year-old man talking to a 19-year-old, sometimes it's difficult and it's a stretch. And I have to like really work every angle to get them to talk. But, you know, I listen to him play the music and I go, this kid's smarter than he's giving on, you know, because the music is still dope. So I don't know. That's it. It's just to challenge myself to keep my mind like open, you know.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah,
The
man.
last thing, and it's a
Yeah.
broad question, so if it's too broad, that's fine. But I like to end the podcast with something like this: of if you could go back to any time in your life where it felt the absolute hardest, and with what you know now, what would you go back? Like, what point do you go back to, and what do you tell yourself then to keep going?
Oh, well. I mean, I would probably just go back to when I was like uh, a kid in Alaska, like feeling like such a misfit out in the middle of the woods, like not interested in what a lot of the other kids at my school were interested in, and secretly desiring to be a musician, specifically secretly desiring to be a rapper, and pre Eminem, where like, you know, white rappers did not even exist, you know. And I would just kind of go back to him and be like, hey man, check it out, you got cool tattoos and you fucking live in Los Angeles and you did it, man, good job, you know. Like, don't, yeah, that's it. You know, I don't know. The looking back thing, man, I've always had enough hubris to like not worry about it and just think that everything's gonna work out. You know, another time that I would probably go back to is like when in 2017 we had to move my dad down to California from Alaska because he had Alzheimer's, and we had to put him in a memory care facility. And I went into such a deep, dark depression, one that I hadn't been in many years, and one that I haven't been in since. And at the time, my now wife, we were just dating at the time, and I tried to break up with her because I was so depressed that I was just like, nothing makes me happy, and I know that she did it. But it was like just my depression telling me like not to be around other people. And I would go back to that guy and say like, hey man, don't be a fucking dick. Like, you know, she's gonna be your wife, and that probably would have helped too. That's it.
Damn, that's fucking huge. That's cool. And also, shouts to her for sticking with you and putting up with your bullshit then, huh?
I mean, honestly, she like threatened me. She was going to stab me, I think. So I was like, oh, I got to take her back or she's going to stab me.
Oh, man. Nobody wants to
I don't know.
get stabbed.
She's sitting right next to me. I don't know if she can hear me or not. She has headphones on.
That's
funny.
funny.
Anyways. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Well, dude, thank you so damn much for doing this. I legit, like, it's an honor to have you on. I'm so happy.
Thank you. I
happened.
never get to like so shamelessly talk about myself for so long. So I appreciate it too. It was a nice outlet. Thank you for the chance and for inviting me on, man. Appreciate it.
Dude, absolutely. And for anybody listening, if you haven't figured out what you're all about and all of the things you do, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at It's Intuition. You can find me also at KindaNeat. Those are my two Twitters. They're both verified last month, which was crazy. And then I got hacked like weeks later because I didn't have my two-step verification on. So if you ever get verified, man, fucking turn that shit on.
Get that two-step.
That's it. And then same thing on Instagram at It's Intuition and at KindaNeat. And that's KindaNeat, not kind of. No, I'm just kidding.
As your gracious host of this podcast has so perfectly misled you.
I'm just fucking with you. But yeah, KindaNeat. And then YouTube.com/KindaNeat is where you can see all of the video content we've been talking about. And there's just like quite literally hours of entertainment, if not days. Like there's a lot of videos on there, and there's a lot of history on there. And you've probably seen one of the videos and didn't realize it, and will go, oh, that's what this is, you know? So yeah, man.
Dude,